Hi, my name is Dan Hodge, and I've been asked by the Rosenbach to take part in the reading of Ulysses, and it's my pleasure to read Episode 9, Scylla and Charybdis. You will say those names are already in the chronicles from which he took the stuff of his plays. Why did he take them rather than others? Richard, a whoreson crookback, misbegotten, makes love to a widowed Anne, what's in a name, woos and wins her, a whoreson merry widow. Richard the Conqueror, third brother, came after William the Conquered. The other four acts of that play hang limply from the first. Of all his kings, Richard is the only king unshielded by Shakespeare's reverence, the angel of the world. Why is the underplot of King Lear, in which Edmund figures, lifted out of Sidney's Arcadia and spatchcocked onto a Celtic legend older than history? Oh, that was Will's way, John Eglinton defended. We should not now combine a Norse saga with an excerpt from a novel by George Meredith. Que voulez-vous, Moore would say. He puts Bohemia on the seacoast and makes Ulysses quote Aristotle. Why? Stephen answered himself. Because the theme of the false, or the usurping, or the adulterous brother, or all three in one, is to Shakespeare what the poor are not. Always with him. The note of banishment, banishment of the heart, banishment from home, sounds uninterruptedly from the Two Gentlemen of Verona onward till Prospero breaks his staff, buries it certain fathoms in the earth, and drowns his book. It doubles itself in the middle of his life, reflects itself in another, repeats itself, prodesis, epitasis, catastasis, catastrophe. It repeats itself again when he is near the grave. When his married daughter Susan, chip of the old block, is accused of adultery. But it was the original sin that darkened his understanding, weakened his will, and left him a strong inclination to evil. The words are those of my lords bishops of Maynooth. An original sin, and, like original sin, committed by another in whose sin he too has sinned. It is between the lines of his last written words. It is petrified on his tombstone, under which her foul bones are not to be laid. Age has not withered it. Beauty and peace have not done it away. It is in infinite variety everywhere in the world he has created, in Much Ado About Nothing, twice in As You Like It, in The Tempest, in Hamlet, in Measure for Measure, and in all the other plays which I have not read. He laughed to free his mind of his mind's bondage. Judge Eglinton summed up. The truth is midway, he affirmed. He is the ghost and the prince. He is all in all. He is, Stephen said. The boy of Act 1 is the mature man of Act 5, all in all. In Cymbeline, in Othello, he is bawd and cuckold. He acts and is acted on. Lover of an ideal or a perversion. Like Jose, he kills the real Carmen. His unremitting intellect is the horn Madiago, ceaselessly willing that the Moor in him shall suffer. Cuckoo, cuckoo, Buck Mulligan clucked lewdly. Oh, word of fear. Dark dome received, reverbed. And what a character is Iago, undaunted John Eglinton exclaimed. When all is said, Dumas fils, or is it Dumas père, is right. After God, Shakespeare has created most. After God, Shakespeare has created most. Man delights him not, nor woman neither, Stephen said. He returns, after a life of absence, to that spot of earth where he was born, where he has always been, man and boy, a silent witness, and there his journey of life ended. He plants his mulberry tree in the earth, then dies. The motion ended. Grave diggers bury Hamlet père and Hamlet fees. A king and a prince at last in death with incidental music. And, what though murdered and betrayed, bewept by all frail tender hearts, for Dane or Dubliner, sorrow for the dead is the only husband from whom they refuse to be divorced. If you like the epilogue, look long on it. Prosperous Prospero, the good man rewarded. Lizzie, Grandpa's lump of love. And Nuncle Richie, the bad man taken off by poetic justice to the place where the bad niggers go. Strong curtain. He found, in the world without, as actual what was in his world within as possible. Maeterlinck says, if Socrates leave his house today, he will find the sage seated on his doorstep. If Judas go forth tonight, it is to Judas his steps will tend. Every life is many days, day after day. We walk through ourselves, meeting robbers, ghosts, giants, old men, young men, wives, widows, brothers in love, but always meeting ourselves. The playwright who wrote the folio of this world, and wrote it badly, he gave us light first and the sun 2 days later, the Lord of things as they are, whom the most Roman Catholics call Dio Boia, hangman god, is doubtless all in all of us, ostler and butcher, and would be bawd and cuckold too, but that the economy of heaven, foretold by Hamlet, there are no more marriages. Glorified man, an androgynous angel, being a wife unto himself. Eureka! Buck Mulligan cried. Eureka! Suddenly happy, he jumped up and reached in a stride John Eglinton's desk. May I? He said. The Lord has spoken to Malachi. He began to scribble on a slip of paper. Take some slips of paper from the counter going out. Those who are married, Mr. Best said, Dose Herald, all save one shall live. The rest shall keep as they are. He laughed, unmarried, at Eglinton Johannes, of arts a bachelor. Unwed, unfancied, ware of wiles, they finger-ponder nightly each his variorum edition of Taming of the Shrew. You are a delusion, said roundly John Eglinton to Stephen. You have brought us all this way to show us a French triangle. Do you believe your own theory? No, Stephen said promptly. Are you going to write it? Mr. Best asked. You ought to make it a dialogue, don't you know, like the Platonic dialogues Wilde wrote. John Eclecticon doubly smiled. Well, in that case, he said, I don't see why you should expect payment for it, since you don't believe in it yourself. Dowden believes there is some mystery in Hamlet, but will say no more. Herr Bleibtreu, the man Piper met in Berlin, who is working up the Rutland theory, believes that the secret is hidden in the Stratford Monument. He's going to visit the present Duke, Piper says, and prove to him that his ancestor wrote the plays. It will come as a surprise to his grace, but he believes his theory. I believe, O Lord, help my unbelief. That is, help me to believe or help me to unbelieve. Who helps to believe? Egomen. Who to unbelieve? Other chap. You are the only contributor to Dana who asks for pieces of silver. Then I don't know about the next number. Fred Ryan wants space for an article on economics. Afraid Ryan, 2 pieces of silver he lent me, tide you over, economics. For a guinea, Stephen said, you can publish this interview. Buck Mulligan stood up from his scribbling, and then gravely said, honeying malice, I called upon the bard Kinch at his summer residence in Upper Mecklenburg Street, and found him deeply in the study of Sumna contra Gentiles, in the company of 2 gonorrheal ladies, Fresh Nelly and Rosalie, the coal-key whore. He broke away. Come, Kinch, come. Wandering Ignis of the birds, come, Kinch. You have eaten all we left. I will serve you your orts and offals. Stephen rose. Life is many days. This will end. Thank you. And on behalf of the Rosenbach, have a wonderful day.